For the past 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, Nigeria has been having challenges that are beckoning and waiting for answers and solutions. That is why we are bringing to you our program, State of the Nation. And this is going to come up on our flagship program this morning on ITV. I am hereby inviting you to join me, Bola Bakare, your host, on State of the Nation, so that we can hasten the motions that brings national development. It's going to be a regular basis on Tuesdays. Make it a date with me. I'll be there waiting for you, and then we shall discuss Nigeria on an holistic level.
Welcome to your lofty program, State of the Nation, where we hasten the motions for national development. And when it comes to national development, we are all in it together. This morning, we shall dwell on a factor of national development which affects us all, which is something we demand for on a regular basis. What am I talking about here? I am talking about infrastructure development. And this morning, excuse me, we shall dwell on the element of roads and bridges. When it comes to infrastructure, everything that makes life important to you and I is infrastructure. If I am to give you a layman's example of what infrastructure is, if you look at yourself as a normal human being, the infrastructure that keeps you going is your skeleton. Without the bones in your body will just fall down like tomato puree. It will be a blob on the ground. So, infrastructure is what runs the nation, what runs the people, what gives us the life that we live. On a regular basis, as Nigerians, we complain a lot about the state of our roads. That is where this morning we shall dwell on the element of roads and bridges. And in fairness to all parties concerned, we took time out to say, okay, when it comes to roads and bridges, we call them roads, highways, and bridges. What is going on out there? And the only way we can find out about this is to talk to the man who is at the helm of affairs. And the man at the helm of affairs is none other than the Honorable Minister Babatunde Fashola. Honestly, he is worth listening to. Honestly, we need to sit back a little bit and use that. For you to listen to that balance, let's hear it from the horse's mouth. Honestly, he has been able to paint for us a situation that transcends between 2015 to date. All I want you to do now is let us all together take a listen.
After I was inaugurated as minister, President Buhari invited me to a meeting in his office. And I recall him telling me that the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the second Niger Bridge, and the Abuja-Kano roads were priorities for him. And he also wanted to know why there was several days gridlock on the road from Lagos to Sokoto, but the section that was involved was the Oyo to Bomosho through Ilorin to Jeba. And they wanted to know why there was gridlock between Ilorin and Jeba that went on for days. And he also asked me to then find out what was delaying the commencement of work on Lagos-Ibadan and second Niger Bridge, and to advise him what to do in order to progress them. And essentially he said, well, I'm going to trust your own judgment in charge of that ministry as to what to do. And so here we are, 7 years after. But in the second term, of course, we now had to sign ministerial mandates. So all of those ministerial mandates essentially restates the discussions that we had in 2015, and of course so many other things. We're talking about over 1,000 contracts that we are managing. We're talking about those over 1,000 contracts translating to over 13,000 kilometers of roads and bridges in every state, and I repeat that, of Nigeria in terms of infrastructure work. Of course, at this period of our tenure, the 7th year, we're in the season I call the season of completion and handover. So in the next few weeks, you will see ministers again, because the president couldn't possibly be in all those states. So you will see ministers again representing Mr. President in about 6 or 7 states on roads like F1 Iwaraja Road in Ekiti. You will see Nguru Kirikasama section in Jigawa. You will see Isoko Road in Delta. You will see Lafia to Tunga Road in Nasarawa. You will see Gombe to Kaltungo section of Gombe to Yola Road. All of them completed and already used, but the symbolism of the handover is our way of saying thank you now to people who have entrusted our party and our government with this mandate. In December last year, so this set of roads that are ready now aggregate to almost 300 kilometers in different parts of the country, further strengthening the national connectivity. In November to December of last year, we did over 1,000 kilometers of handover like that across different parts of the country, about 2 sections of the Kano-Maiduguri Highway, the Newe-Oduma Road in Enugu and Ebonyi, the Vandekea Ubudu Road linking Benue to Cross River, the Sokoto Tambuwa Road linking Sokoto Kebbi to Niger State. So we're in another phase now. We're also in tertiary schools, tertiary institutions building internal road networks of about 2 kilometers each to improve the connectivity and travel time within the campuses and the hostels and the environment where education takes place. So it's a lot of work. Oh yes, some of the certificates are coming in. We're verifying and measuring what has been done. We are planning to pay some of the contractors. So, and as we discharge our own side of the bargain of the contract, we expect that the contractors will also deliver, so we will see more. We are in a good place. Some of them will be completed because they can be completed. Some of them will not be completed by us because the timeline to complete them exceeds the legitimate tenure of the Buhari administration, but they will be in such a place of delivery that it will be foolish not to attempt to finish them by the next team. So we're comfortable. And also to say that some of the roads that we have to build are not 2 kilometer, 5 kilometer roads. And I think this is just for our collective understanding and education that I should make this point. We're building 50, 100, 200, in some cases 300. Kano to Abuja is 375 kilometers of dual carriageway. Kano-Maiduguri is 560 kilometers of dual carriageway. So the concept of completion is what I want to define. We can't build all of that road in one day. Okay, so what we need to do is Lagos-Ibadan is 127 kilometers of dual carriageway of 3 lanes each. So you can't do that in one day or in 1 year. So you build them in sections. And so you will see that maybe we will close off 10 or 20 kilometers, divert traffic to the other side, and then complete, build 10, 5, 15, 20 kilometers, and then reopen back to traffic. So those sections we built, they've been completed. Certificate of completion has been given to the constructor that that place has been properly built. So that's how completion also must be understood. Because we couldn't close all of the road and say, oh, until we finish, nobody can pass. We can't do that. We shut down the economy. More importantly, for example, we talked about asphalt. It must be served and delivered at a particular temperature. Which company or which group of companies in Nigeria can produce enough asphalt to asphalt 375 kilometers in one day or at a stretch? No country has that kind of capacity. More importantly, as I said, it must be delivered at a particular temperature. How do you keep that temperature on year long? So it just helps us to understand the concept of completion of federal highways.
Now that you've listened to the Honorable Minister of Works and Housing give us a brief about how he has gone from 2015 till date, all we need to do is we need to listen more, because if not for the fact of what we've listened to, all we do on a regular basis is we just portray discomfort. It's no good. Nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. But the thing about information, which is key, is we need to listen so that we can understand the situation, so that we can talk not out of ignorance, so that we can talk not out of naivety. If we are ignorant, we say things we don't know. If we are naive, we say things we don't know. That is why it is important we listen in some instances to what the people at the helm of affairs are saying. So also, we need to think in terms of there is nothing on earth. Every good thing they say costs money. And when it comes to all these projects on hand, for which he has said a little bit, which we all listen to, there is that element of funding. Funding is very critical. Funding is important. Funding is a part of it. And honestly, what we're going to listen to shortly is a feedback about funding from the Honorable Minister of State, Muazu Jaji. He is going to give us the brief about what the funding is all about. And subsequently after that, the CFO of the ministry, who happens to be the permanent secretary, will also give us a brief about how they do it, the administrative aspect of it, the SOP, standard operation procedures, what they do, so that we, the average Nigerians, can learn. Once again, I will say, let us take a listen.
In the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, what we have done from 2015, when this government came into being, is to look for alternative ways of funding our roads and housing projects, particularly roads, which touch on people's lives, touch on the economy, touch on agriculture, and all the value chains that you can talk about. And outside, we found out that if you relying on the yearly appropriation does not meet expectations. I mean, a road that is meant to cost 20 billion naira and you are providing only 200 million naira for it, where will 200 million naira take you to? So what this government has done is, one, to look at, to look at alternative means outside normal appropriation, lawful, of course. So, for example, we have the Sukuk bond. We have where funds are raised through the Debt Management Office for funding road infrastructure projects. This started in 2017, 2018, 2020, 2021, and 2022. And progressively, we have increased the number of road projects that have been funded through the Sukuk, sovereign Sukuk bond. The Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund, which is used to fund the legacy projects. The Second Niger Bridge, Bodoboni Bridge, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and the Abuja-Kano Expressway. The other one, of course, is multilateral loans that we get at very, very concessionary rates, especially from the China Exim Bank. That we are utilizing for the Abuja-Akwanga, Akwanga-Lafia Optimakodi dualization. Like you know, that is a major gateway from the southern part of Nigeria to the Federal Capital Territory, passing through several states. I can tell you confidently that this project alone employs right now about 1,000 people within the communities where the project passes through. Two, now, by the time this project is completed, travel time will be drastically reduced, perhaps by as much as 2 hours. And time, you know, is money.
We have controllers of works and housing in all the 36 states of the Federation and, of course, the FCT. Now, those are people that supervise all federal government projects. You know, they report to the headquarters assess, and then decisions are taken. So it's a very seamless operation that we have, you know, within the ministry. Once you have those works controllers, works and housing controllers, they assess works that are done by the federal government with contractors, prepare their reports, send them to the headquarters, and then decisions are taken, either certificates are issued, and then payments are done. So it's a very seamless operation.
The president was very clear about his commitment to infrastructure in Nigeria. There were things that needed to be done. New infrastructure had to be put in place in order to help make life more easy for a population that has been growing for the last 3 decades without a commensurate investment in infrastructure. So as I tell people, we had one of the best airports in 1975 in Lagos, but did we expand the airport? Certainly not. So what was adequate in 1975 has become inadequate because our population has grown. Many more people are traveling. Many more airlines are using the airport. The same is true of the port. Tinkan Island, when it was built in 1970s, after the cement armada, was easily the most upscale port in these parts of the world. And it did what it needed to do at the time. But we didn't anticipate growth. So Tinkan Island, Apapa Port, have been outgrown by the number of businesses, the size of the economy. And the same thing is true of the roads. So President was very clear, our government was very clear that we needed to expand infrastructure in order to make life more comfortable for people, in order to give people choice. People who have choice are rich people, they are prosperous people, they will be efficient, they will be productive. So that was one thing. The other thing was to ensure that the existing infrastructure did not fall into disuse. And therefore, we needed to do a lot of rehabilitation and maintenance. And that's what took us to the bridges. Many of those bridges are 4 or 5 decades old. Some of them have not received any attention in terms of maintenance. Rails have been ripped away. Bearings have broken. Expansion joints have outlived their service life. So it's not a pleasant experience to drive on some of these bridges. You hear that jarring sound when you cross joints. So, and we also saw an opportunity there to create work. Piers and pile caps that had been subject to wear and tear underwater needed to be repaired. We had divers who were not fully employed. We had engineers, foundry workers who could fabricate some of all these parts. So those were the combination of factors that led us back to bridge repairs and maintenance to improve the quality of infrastructure, but also to drive economic activity and create work.
We have listened to all the minister has said. We have listened to what the Honorable Minister of State has said. We have listened to the CFO, Chief Financial Officer of the ministry. Now, I would like to give you some graphics, some visuals about all these things that they've been able to go through. And I am going to break it down for you. You are going to look at the roads they've talked about. We're going to look at the bridges they've talked about. We're going to look at some of the roads they did in institutions, tertiary institutions, so that mobility within those institutions can be something that is easy for all of us to take care of. And honestly, I would like to advise Nigerians, before we make statements, let us take time out to listen to the people who are at the end of affairs. Let's take a quick cursory look about all those shots of all the projects they've been able to accomplish.